I used to hate what was called the death knock. And the death knock is going to someone's door who's just lost somebody in a dreadful incident. And an incident at the start of 2008 involved a university lecturer called Clayton Weatherston, who's stabbed his former girlfriend to death by plunging a knife into her and mutilating her 216 times. And I got on a plane with an instinct. I wanted to go and meet Sophie's parents, because I knew Sophie Elliott's parents, the young woman who was murdered. She was only 22, and she was a day away from leaving to go and start her first job out of uni at Treasury. On his 32nd birthday, Clayton Weatherston came to the Elliott's home and some pretext to see Sophie. He assaulted her and done all sorts of horrible things, but he was allowed into the room, and his mother Leslie listened downstairs as her daughter was violated and put to death. And I knew that the court case would probably outrage the nation. In fact, they moved the case to Christchurch because they didn't think they could get an impartial jury in Dunedin. And anyway, I made friends. I did what I always do. I made friends with Gil and Leslie Elliott. And what I often do is, when I started on a story like that, I don't know that this is a practice that any other journalist follows. People tell me I'm stupid for doing it. I say, we're going to try starting to tell this story, but if early in the piece you decide you want out, I'll leave you alone. And they never do, because they feel empowered and they feel like you've handed control of their story back to them. And so I spent a lot of time with them. I covered the trial, and I went to America and all around the place trying to figure out what had driven that man. And I found it was a thing called pathological narcissism. And I went to the States and I interviewed the two top experts on it, and we dug, and there was a guy called Roger Mulder in Christchurch, and we dug and we dug and we dug. And at the same time, I could tell that Leslie Elliott was going to go for broke when the trial was over. And sure enough, she set up a program called Loves Me Not. And she started going into high schools and started talking to young people, saying, here are the signs to look out for. It's not just physical abuse, it's emotional and psychological abuse. And here's how not to get caught in that trap. So Leslie, in failing health, kept going around. She was, I think, one of the New Zealanders of the year at some stage, Queen's Birthday Honours, wrote a best-selling book. But the impact of losing her daughter was so great, she developed dementia and a couple of other things, and she passed away 2 or 3 years ago. But the legacy she's left behind, talk about a solution side person. That story is a hard read. A tough old journo mate of mine who I gave to proofread the book for me says, I couldn't get through that chapter, I've got a daughter her age. And I said, okay bro, I get it, I understand. I put myself in their position and tried to imagine what it would be like listening downstairs as my own daughter was put to death in such a brutal manner. But it's an instructional story. The letter that she wrote, that Leslie wrote to Sophie on the anniversary of her death, it's several pages in the book. It'll blow your mind.